how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved.
All right, Steph, don't get it from the
How
camera.
precious did that grace.
Come on in, boys. You can look and see. Yeah.
It's a butt. So you pressed that?
I first believed.
What's going on, I.A.G Farm family? Just taking a minute and sitting here and looking at this award. And I know you all have been waiting to see it. And it's an amazing thing to be able to think back on all that it took to get this award. Because a lot of you all may think that this award means that, okay, this award was given because you obtained 100,000 subscribers. But there's so much more that goes into this story than just 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And I'm gonna just take this award and I'm gonna sit it back here in the background. And then we'll just pick that award back up in a minute as I flow through and just take my time and go through the story, because obtaining this silver play button is way bigger than just the things that we've done on YouTube. But things that we've done on YouTube have played like a very, very big part, you know, because we wouldn't have the award, you know, without YouTube, because of the YouTube silver play button. But if you think that we earned this award, because yes, we earned it, it wasn't given. You know, a lot of hard work went into to getting this award and to be able to have it back here, to be able to touch it, you know, and hold it, you know, and for it to be ours, to have our name on it, to have God's name on it. And that's the biggest part, is that it has God's name on it. It has I.A.G Farms. It doesn't have Tim or Megan or the boys or any of those things. It has God, you know, has earned or has passed 100,000 subscribers. But if you think that we were able to obtain this award by just having 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, or you think that's all that went into it, is like a guy said one time, I heard, he said, if you think that, you're what's known as wrong. So I just want to kind of give y'all a couple details and I kind of just walk you through the story, and I'm going to try to take my time because I have some very important parts of the story that I would like to touch on, you know, some context type things that I think that would really encourage you, and they've super encouraged us, you know, so we just want to share those things with you. But as most of you all know, I went to prison at an early age. I went to prison when I was 17 years old. Ended up serving 6 years and 9 months, I believe. Ended up getting out of prison about 12 years ago. And I was around, I think I was just about to turn 24 when I got out of prison. And, you know, I spent a lot of time in prison and I had a lot of time to think, you know. And the first thing that really transformed my life and took me from a path of darkness into a path of light, took me from a path to where my hands were being used for evil to now where my hands can be used for good. The first thing that took place is that I began to build a relationship with Jesus. And as I began to build a relationship with Jesus, he began to transform me and change my mind. And through this process of transformation, of not being conformed to the world, but being transformed by the renewing of my mind. Now my mind was able to actually think and flow and function. And so as I was spending this time in prison, because I was still in prison at this time, madly in love with Jesus, but still in prison because I was serving out my sentence, which was just, it wasn't unfair. It was just, So I was serving out, the last couple of years of my sentence. And I had a lot of time to think. I had a lot of time to think about who I wanted to be, what I wanted to become. And the most important part of it was to think about what it would take for me to get there. Because I knew that the things that the Lord wanted me to do, I wasn't going to be able to do those things and just go about business as usual. Because I knew that I was going to be starting behind, because I was going to get out of prison as a convicted felon, committing a major offense against society. And I was very, very regretful, still am very, 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 very regretful for the things that I did. But I was ignorant at that time. I was blind, but now I see, And so I had a lot of time to think about the things that I wanted to be, what type of man I wanted to be, what type of husband I wanted to be, what type of father I wanted to be, what type of, how I wanted to be productive, when it came to being a member of society. And, as I was going throughout this process of thinking about those things, I knew that I needed as much knowledge, as much understanding, from the main thing I did was I read the Bible. That was the main thing. But when it comes to being able to flow and function in the world, I ended up taking up as many classes and trades and things like that as I could. I ended up getting 3 trade certificates by the time I got out of prison. I took up culinary arts. If you all not familiar with that, that's learning how to cook, I guess. But the reason that I took up culinary arts, I was still in prison at the time, as I said. But the reason that I took up culinary arts is because it was the easiest trade to get into, because everybody was signing up for all the other trades. And so I got into the one that I can get into fast, get that out the way, so I can start working on the next one. So I got my trade in culinary arts. That probably took about, 6 months or so. And then I got into horticulture. I looked at the trade, I looked at horticulture, and I didn't even know what horticulture was. I'm like, do you mean agriculture? It's like, no, horticulture. It's the study of small plants and shrubberies. And so I ended up getting into the horticulture class, and I ended up getting that trade, knocked it out, about 3 or 4 months, 5, 6 months, something like that. And after I got done with the culinary arts trade and the horticulture trade, I took up brick mason. And brick mason was the only one that I ended up not actually finishing out, because I was halfway through the course, and I was at, as I told you, I went to prison when I was 17 years old, so I was still considered to be a juvenile. And so they had a facility that you stayed at until you got 21, and then when you turned 21 years old, you ended up moving to another facility. And I actually moved, I think, when I was 20 or something like that, a little bit early, because my mama, she worked for the sheriff department. And she ended up pulling a couple strings and getting me moved to a better facility, because the facility that I was at when I was getting all those trades, this juvenile facility, was very, very harsh, very, very rough. It was I saw a lot of things during those years, and it really, humbled me and taught me and showed me what we're capable of, the evil that we're capable of. And so that's one of the things that really encouraged me to want to be a good father. That's why you see me doing some of the things with my boys and being in their life and going above and beyond to raise them, so that they won't go down the same path that I did. Because most of those young men that were in that facility with me, most of us weren't raised in a 2-parent household. Most of us were raised either by our grandmothers or our moms. You might have had a few that had their dads in their lives. But so I wanted to be that dad that would break that curse, from my family, so that my sons wouldn't end up in stupid situations like I was. But anyway, ended up being moved from the juvenile facility. I came out of the juvenile facility with 2 trades, 2 vocational trades, and then I was working on my 3rd one, but I got moved. Now the facility that I got moved to, it wasn't a juvenile facility, and they didn't have as much schooling and as many programs and things going on there. And so when I got there, they didn't have any trades, any trade type programs, but they did have a GED program. But the thing is, because I was just locked in on getting as much knowledge as I could, and so I was if I can take the GED test again, I'll take it again. I go through the GED classes again, but they wouldn't let me get in the GED program because I had already got my GED before I actually went to prison. I got it when I think I got my GED when I was 15 or 16. Got kicked out of school, got my GED, and I was actually signed up to take some college courses, when I was 17, right before I went to prison, just doing stupid stuff. It was like I had the ability to like do the book work and succeed in that area, but I just chose to do stupid stuff, chose to do stupid stuff, and ended up, getting caught, which was the best thing to happen for me. I'm glad I got caught because I'm glad that I wasn't in society and functioning, and avoiding, the law. I'm glad that the law like got me and locked me up and set me down so that I can become the man that I am today. But anyway, back to the story. I was at this new facility, because I was a little bit too old to be at the juvenile facility. They didn't have any trade programs, and I was like, I need to take some trade programs. I need to be in some schooling and some classes. Like, I'm not taking no for an answer, because I'm trying to be better, and of course I was they had Bible study programs and Bible courses, and I took all those. Sometimes I took them over again as many times as they would let me take them. So I ended up finding out that they had what was called a literacy program. And if you're all not familiar with what literacy is like your ability to read and write and just do like basic things. And so I had the ability to do those things. Like I said, I already had my GED. I had, a little bit of schooling before, up to about the 11th grade and things like that. So I knew how to read, write. I was skilled in all those things, all those basic things. But I ended up, figuring out a way to get myself into the literacy program, even though the literacy program was for those who were taking the GED course, to help them on their GED test. But they messed around and let me in the literacy program. And I ended up being in that class, for probably about 2 weeks. And I really wasn't challenged, it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of boring because there was nothing for me to do. I would kind of just sit there, kind of like I might have helped out some of the other students and things like that, but there was nothing for me to do. I was trying to grow. I was trying to like build. I was trying to prepare for this vision, for this plan that the Lord was giving me for what He wanted me to do when I got out of prison, and how He wanted me to establish myself in society, and how He wanted me to use my hands to be able to give to those who have in need. Like the Bible says, Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28, it says, let him move stones still no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, so that he can have something to give to those who have need. And so I'm aggressively pursuing, knowledge, understanding, any type of schooling that I could get. So I'm in the literacy program, wasn't being challenged, a little bit bored, and I ended up finding out the person who was teaching the class was an inmate. He was in prison as well, but he did pretty well for himself before he came to prison. He ended up getting a master's of business administration, so he had an MBA, and I ended up finding out that he had an MBA, a master's of business administration. And I asked him, I said, can you teach me about business? Because I feel led that the Lord wants me to be a businessman, and so for probably about a year, I ended up, just a blessing, but you might as well say that I ended up getting an associate's degree, a free associate's degree in business, because, this guy, he agreed to teach me about business. And so he was really happy about it, because the things that he was teaching in the class, he was just kind of teaching those things, to get a little bit of extra credit and to like get out of prison early on good behavior. Because he was a good dude. He wasn't a bad dude. Just made a mistake, and he was in there just trying to better himself. And I'm glad that I joined that class, because it was one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. I try to pride myself on making good decisions. Megan, I really like challenge Megan a lot of times, because I do it like this. I'll say, what was the best decision that was made last year? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I'll tell Megan, I'll say, what was the best decision? My wife, Megan, if you're watching this video for the first time, I want to tell you that my wife's name is Megan. My name is Tim. So I'm not sure if there's anybody out there that's watching this video for the first time. Just want to let y'all know and give y'all context about what I'm talking about. But I'll challenge my wife, and I'll say, who made the best decision last year? Who made the best decision last month? Who made the best decision or what was the best decision that we made last week, you know, and then I'll say like, who made that decision, you know, and it's kind of like a way of just us, you know, holding ourselves accountable, and then just pushing ourselves, you know, or me pushing her and me pushing myself to be better and to make good decisions. But anyway, joining that literacy program was one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. And so I ended up getting that training, you know, what I call an associate's degree, or a bachelor's degree, whichever one you want to say, in business. And so I came out of that class knowing a lot about business, you know. And one of the things that the teacher of that class challenged me on, because I told him about all these things that I wanted to do, all these businesses I wanted to start. And one of the things that he challenged me on was this. He said, come up with a name for your business. He said, you have all this vision, but you don't have a name for your business. And I'm not going to tell you right now what the name is of my business that I came up with, but I want y'all to guess, and I'll tell you a little bit later in the video. So I came up with the name for the business, got out of that class, you know, just fast forwarding a little bit, you know, in time, ended up getting out of prison. You know, I got out of prison, I think I was almost 24 years old. I think I might have got out of prison like 2 months before my 24th birthday. So I went in prison, you know, I had just turned 17. I think it was like 2 months after I turned 17. And I got out of prison about 2 months before I was about to turn 24. You know, so now you have this young kid getting out of prison, trying to figure out how to be a man, having all this like passion and desire and wanting to do things the right way, you know. And yeah, so I'm getting out of prison. And the first thing I did, I hit the ground running because I had a vision. I knew what I needed to do to get there, and I knew that I didn't need any like straight time. So it's like the first day I got out of prison, I went and got things like driver's license, got cell phone, just different things like that, you know, that could help me function, you know, in society. And after I got all those things done, the very next day I was at work. My dad actually had a business. You know, he had a business where he did tractor work, bush hogging with the tractor, you know, mowing tall grass with the tractor, just doing all type of tractor work, like grading, dirt work, foundations and things like that. And I ended up working for my dad. I wasn't making a lot of money. You know, I was making probably below minimum wage because my dad, to credit him, he had the business set up to where it was extremely successful for him as an individual. But his business wasn't set up good enough to where he could hire employees. You know, it wasn't organized enough for all that, you know, but that's not his fault. You know, I feel like it was my job to come in and help him organize it to get it to the point to where we could turn it into a franchise and not just one generation's worth of wealth, but multiple generations worth of wealth. But yeah, so he had the business set up, started working for him right away, was making like $14,000 a year, you know, not much at all, about $300 a week, you know, just without expenses, without talking about I spent $100 a week on gas, you know, just getting out there and doing the work, you know, and then you got childcare and all those type of things. So I was pretty much just breaking even at the end of each month, wasn't making a whole lot of money. And so what I did was I had a plan. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work for my dad during the day, and I'm going to go and get another job and work at night. Because I was like, I don't need to sleep. I can just work all the time. I've had enough time to sleep during these 6 years and 9 months of prison. And so now it's time to get it. It's time to grind. And so I ended up, and this is another monumental point of my life that changed, you know, situation, you know, that changed my life. Because I ended up going to UPS, you know, the delivery company, and filled out an application, you know, went in for the interview and all those type of things. It's like my sisters, they said, you're not gonna get hired with tattoos, because I had tattoos on my face and a couple tattoos on my hand, things like that, coming from prison, just doing stupid stuff. And they said, you're not gonna get hired with tattoos. And so they took makeup and put it on my face, on my tattoos, and put makeup on my hands and things, so that the interviewer wouldn't see the the tattoos. But did the interview, you know, it was just a basic job, you know, wasn't making a whole lot of money either. But at this job, you would just be like unloading the 18-wheeler truck and loading the boxes onto the small, like brown, you know, UPS truck that you see riding around that delivers the packages to your house. And so I filled out that job application, and, you know, I was expecting to get hired, but they didn't hire me. And the reason that they didn't hire me is because I was a convicted felon. And it's like, when I didn't get hired for that job, I was all excited, ready to go. It was like fresh, like ready to like conquer the world, you know, transform. I'm young, energetic. But it's like I filled out that application and they denied me because of my past. And that really didn't sit well with me. You know, it really didn't sit well with me. And after I got denied, after I filled out that one job application, and after I got denied, I told myself, I said, they'll never be able to deny me again. I made it up in my mind that I was going to do the things that it took to never have to fill out another job application again. But I was going to be in position to where people would have to come to me to fill out applications, to ask for jobs, you know. And so from that point forward, I knew I had a lot of work to do though. Like I wasn't in position to do that. You know, I was working with my dad, you know, wasn't making a lot of money. And I had a little bit of time, you know, at night where I could do some things. But it's like I was saying, they're not going to deny me again. You know, I'm going to put myself in position to where I'll be the lender and not the borrower. I'll be the above and not beneath. I'll be the head and not the tail. And I made my mind up right there that was how it was going to be. But then real life came back in. And I went to work with my dad the next day. And, you know, we were working at this place. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. And I knew that pursuing knowledge was never a waste of time, even if I had to pay for it, you know. And so my dad and I, we were doing this work. We were like weeding a parking lot. And it was a parking lot. It was a couple buildings that were being rented out. And we were like doing some work in the parking lot, picking up trash and things like that. And getting rid of the little grass sprouts that had grew in the parking lot and things like that. And even if it had some little bumps and something like that, we might have like, you know, bring the tractor in and got rid of those bumps. But we were out there working in the parking lot, and I realized that the parking lot that we were working in was the parking lot, or one of the buildings, one of the businesses there was a barber school. And I didn't tell you this part about when I was in prison, but one of the trades that I wanted to get into, the reason that I got into culinary was because they wasn't just letting everybody into the barber trade. They had a trade for barbering in prison, you know, and I, you know, knew how to cut hair. So I was like, let me take the barbering trade, but it wasn't available. It was like too many people that wanted to get into that trade. So I ended up not being able to get into it and took other trades. But here I stand in this parking lot with this free time at night, working for my dad during the day, free time at night. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a barber. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, barbers don't have to fill out applications. You know, barbers work for themselves. And this is this point in the story where I began to develop an emotion. And this is very, very important. You know, to anybody that's getting out of prison, anybody that, you know, might feel like people won't hire them because of their past and things, I developed an emotion. And I'm going to tell y'all what this emotion is called. It's not anger. It's not frustration. It's not whatever other emotion you can think of. This may be your first time hearing this, but I developed an emotion called entrepreneur. I developed an emotion called entrepreneur, and I decided that I was going to start my own business, that I was going to start my own businesses. And I already had the business, I already had the business acumen, the training, you know, that associate's degree that I got in that literacy program. Never would have thought I would have got a training in business and a literacy program. But if I would have like saw that literacy program and said, oh yeah, this is beneath me, you know, I already know how to read and write. Or if I would have looked at it and said, what are people gonna think? You know, like they're gonna think I don't know how to read if I'm in that class, you know, with those guys, you know what I'm saying? But I got in that class, and I was extremely blessed by that class and learned so much, you know. But got into the barbering trade, you know, after I was out of prison, you know, when I was working with my dad. Ended up signing up for the barbering program, and I took night classes. And so now we get to the point of the story where, and I know y'all probably thinking like, how does this have anything to do with 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? We'll get there. For real. And y'all will see this story written all over this silver play button by the time I'm done. For real. And it's going to be more than just a silver play button, but it's going to be something that has life and power every time you see it in our videos. And you're going to think about how good God is. So working with my dad during the day, making not a whole lot of money, going to barber school at night, and barber school lasted probably about 2 years or so. It's a long program, and within the time of me joining the barber program, within that 2 year span, I ended up meeting Megan, my wife. And so within that time, Megan and I got married, and we were, doing ministry together. I actually met Megan while I was doing ministry. We were at I was ministering with a youth group, and I was like one of the youth leaders in the group. And we did like this little skit one day, and Megan was, a part of that team in that skit, and that's how we met. I was actually playing God, and she was playing the enemy, like the devil. And like in this skit, we were showing how the enemy tries to distract you from getting to God. And so Megan was another person trying to get to me who was playing God, and Megan was like doing all type of stuff trying to distract him. It was funny. I even think we have a picture. Maybe I'll put a link in here of that picture of us doing that skit. But within that 2 year span of me going to barber school, I'm still working with my dad, going to school at night. I met my wife, got married. We're doing ministry together. And then in that span, we got more and more intense with ministry. Like the Lord spoke to us more and more. The more obedience we activated, the more the Lord spoke to us, and He started giving us all type of just details about what He wanted us to do in ministry. This is still within that 2 year window. And so within that 2 year window, I ended up becoming a licensed and ordained minister. Because I just began to grow, in the ranks and grow in the favor of those that I was doing ministry with, in the churches and the ministries that I was serving at. And ended up, going through the process of becoming licensed and ordained as a minister. And so by the time that 2 years was up, I had a barber. I had my trade in barbering. I was a licensed barber. I was married by the time that 2 years was up. Now remember, I just got out of prison. I was married. I was a licensed and ordained minister. And then Megan and I were starting our ministry. Like, we started a ministry from scratch ourselves. And it was an amazing time. And we started out our ministry, and this is where this business acumen comes in, because ministry and business are a lot similar. You know what I'm saying? Like, the goal with everything functions the same, but the goal with ministry is just not money. Like, it's not profit. Like, at least it's not physical profit. It's not a monetary thing. It's not little green pieces of paper. In other words, the goal with ministry, the profit with ministry is people. You know what I'm saying? People being saved, people being delivered, people being transformed. And so, we ended up starting our ministry, and we started it as an LLC, a limited liability company. We filed those papers and got everything started, got everything going. But, still within that 2 year window. But as time went on, we realized that we needed to be a nonprofit. And so we did a business conversion and did everything we needed to do. And we converted our ministry that we had from an LLC to a 501c3 nonprofit. And so now we have this ministry going, we're doing all these things, but I'm still making $14,000 a year, and Megan was a teacher at the time, working at a college in town. And so, you may think like, oh yeah, she must have been making a whole lot. She wasn't. She was making like $30,000 a year, just like a base type salary where she was, but yeah. And so what I ended up doing was, because with that salary, with our family, and we were having kids. I think we might have had Tim Jr. at that point within that first 2 years, and we might have been pregnant with Titus, So making, $30,000 plus $14,000, what is that? $44,000 a year. Yeah. So, and like I say, the $14,000 I was making really wasn't anything. I just really broke even, with gas money and expenses and things like that. I really wasn't making anything. And so, what I ended up doing was, and here it goes again, that emotion called entrepreneur. What I ended up doing was, I started multiple businesses. Now remember, I had told myself they will never deny me again. So I didn't even attempt to fill out any other job applications, because I already knew that they were going to try to deny me because of my past. So I went and I started my own businesses. And the first thing that I did was barbering. I got out of barber school, started cutting hair, worked for myself. I wasn't subject to anybody. Even if I worked at a barber shop, that I didn't own I would pay booth rent, and I owned that booth. Like, that was my booth. I didn't have to fill out an application, to own that booth. And so I cut hair for a while. And the next thing I did, I think, was I started cutting grass. I just had like a push mower. I started a lawn mowing business. I did that for a few years. It was successful, and then after I mowed grass for a few years, what did I do next? I ended up starting my own business, doing tractor work myself, kind of branched off from my dad. And I forgot about, next was dog kennels. And this is where the name of the business, you remember I told you earlier that the teacher of that class that taught me about business for that year, he challenged me to come up with a name for my businesses. And now I'm actively doing these businesses. So now the name is very, very important so that I can, flow in those things and incorporate those things. And so I started a business after barbering and after mowing grass. I started a business called I.A.G Kennels. It's all about God kennels. And what I did with I.A.G Kennels was I bred and sold Rottweilers. They were like, fancy dogs, like where, like they weren't just regular, Rottweilers that you would see. Like some of the dogs that I got were bred in Germany, and Megan and I drove all around the country, at least, not the world. We never went outside of the country, but we drove all around the country breeding dogs and all those things. And that business, I saw a need as I was like selling dogs. I saw that a lot of people didn't have backyards. They didn't have like fenced in backyards, but they wanted dogs, and in order to have a dog, if it's not going to be an inside dog, you need to have a fence. And so I saw a need for dog kennels. And so I started a branch of I.A.G Kennels where I didn't just sell Rottweilers or dogs, but I actually like started selling actual dog kennels, like the chain link kennels that you lock the dog in. And I ended up, and the thing about it is when you're an entrepreneur, you have to take risk. If you look up the definition for entrepreneur, one of the main words that you'll see in there is that an entrepreneur, the main difference from an entrepreneur and somebody that just goes and works for somebody else, is that an entrepreneur takes on unusual financial risk. Like, because when you go and work for somebody else, you're not taking on as big of a financial risk as an entrepreneur. And so I had to leap out there on faith if I was going to pursue these things that the Lord was telling me, and if I was going to like not have to fill out a job application and not be denied by somebody else ever again. I had to take a leap of faith. I had to take a risk. And so what I did was I took all the money that we had, because I knew that there was a need. I was completely confident that I was going to be able to sell all these dog kennels. And so I took a leap, took all the money we had in savings, drained it, and bought 10 dog kennel kits. It was all of the material, all the metal, all of the fencing and all that type stuff, and the gates and all of that type stuff. And what I did was I bought those and I would put them together for people. I would sell the kennel just still in the box, the kit, but it wasn't a lot of people that bought those because they were very, very hard to put together. And so what I would do is I would sell them the kennel, and then I would like contract out with myself. Megan and I, we would go and put the kennel together, and sometimes we put it together at our house, and then we just load it on a trailer and deliver it. And we delivered kennels all over the place. We sold those first 10 kennels, and then it's like we had a list that was so long. It's still, people still to this day call me trying to get dog kennels because it's just something that they're so expensive in the store, and then people don't know how to put those things together. So we had a good product going on, and it was a good time. It was a very, very successful business, and within that time of us selling those dog kennels and doing those things, the Lord was still doing ministry. Our ministry was growing, and I was on. I forgot to tell y'all this, but I was the pastor of our ministry, the pastor and the overseer of the ministry that Megan and I started. It's called the Walk by Faith Movement Ministry, and I was on salary. I was on the log on salary as a pastor. So I received payment from the ministry once a month. But the thing that we felt led to do was to grow the ministry, and to sacrifice ourselves to grow the ministry. And so for about 10 years, I didn't cash not one of those checks. And if I did cash it, I might have cashed one or two, maybe one or two. Like that's but I'm saying that loosely, maybe one or two. But what I would do is if I did cash them, I would just donate the money back to the ministry, so the ministry could grow, because that was the goal. Like I said, the profit was the people. You know, our goal was to cultivate people, you know, not to build ourselves up, you know, but to put the people in a better position in our neighborhood where we were serving. And so, yeah, I was on salary as a pastor and didn't cash any of those checks. We're going through the years. We're faithfully doing ministry. The ministry is growing. The ministry is thriving. We're laboring in our neighborhoods, prayer walking. We're seeing souls be saved, you know, and we're being changed as well. You know, I think that's a big part that people miss out on with ministry, is that ministry doesn't just, you're not just here to change somebody else, but you're here to be changed. So all that's going on, fast forward a little bit, and the Lord began to speak to us about owning land and about farming and about chickens and about animals and about transitioning our ministry platform or style from just being standing at a podium preaching, you know, the word from the Bible and prayer walking in the city. But he wanted us to develop this ministry foundational platform to where the people that we had met in the city and that we had discipled in the city, we could bring them outside of what they always knew, you know, and show them something different, which was big green farm fields and big long driveways, and show them where their food came from and put them in position to where they can give to somebody that has need. So the Lord began, you know, ministering these things to us. And, you know, like I say, we're being faithful and obedient, you know, in the things that the Lord was asking us to do in the city. But the Lord began to minister to us about how our time in the city was coming to an end. And he gave us one last year in the city, you know, to fulfill all the things that he wanted us to do. Spoke very, very clearly to us. And at the same time, like I said, he told us to buy land. And so being having the emotion called entrepreneur that I had, willing to take risks, because I had developed it and I had got bold with it. You know, it was like I was pretty dangerous, still am pretty dangerous to be around. That's why I always tell y'all, like, we're not normal. You know, nothing against anybody, but we're not like, we don't fit inside of a box, you know, put it like that. You know, we're on YouTube, we have 100,000 subscribers, we have a farm, we have land, we're homeschooling, but you still can't find a box to put us in. We're Christians, we believe in Jesus, but it's like we don't fit anywhere, you know. Whereas like trying to fit a round peg through a square hole, or a square peg through a round hole, you know, we don't fit anywhere. But Lord's giving us these visions about owning land, and I got the emotion called entrepreneur. And so I, you know, went to Megan, went to my family, and I told them we're about to take a leap of faith. You know, we ended up finding this property that we live on now. You know, we have about 15 acres altogether. This property here is about 5 acres, and we have another property that's about 10 acres that we're still praying about what to do with it, you know, whether to sell it or whether, you know, just to keep it and build it up. But we ended up finding this property here, and it took everything we had to get this property. And the catch is that in order to buy this property here, we had to buy it without seeing it, and we were going to get ahead of everybody else, you know, because there was a couple other people that wanted to buy it, and you know, then a survey needed to be done to determine exactly where the lines were. We kind of knew where it was at, but we knew it was, you know, somewhere between 3 and 5 acres, you know, but it needed a survey. You know, it was like old family land that had been passed down, so they didn't know exactly where it was at. And you know, we couldn't really get in here to look at it, because you didn't know if you were looking at this property or somebody else's property. And so we ended up buying this property without seeing it, spending everything we had again, because our dog kennel business, I.A.G Kennels, was doing pretty well, and we were using a lot. So we were in the process, from some of the proceeds that we had made from I.A.G Kennels, of remodeling our house in the city, and we had a little bit built up along with some other things that the Lord sent our way, and we ended up cashing out the I.A.G Kennels. Remember, risk now, emotion entrepreneur. We cashed out one business to start another business, you know, which was farming, you know, because the Lord was speaking to us about that. So now we own land. And for about a year or two, I was coming down here and we were trying to like farm and trying to develop the land, trying to put up fencing and trying to do all those things, driving back and forth, you know, because we were still doing ministry in the city, and we were coming down here to the farm to try to do ministry down here, you know, and build things up down here. But the Lord just began to whisper to me that we weren't going to be able to establish things down here while being connected to the city. And so the Lord began to minister to us about, moving down here full time. And so being the businessman and the entrepreneur that I am, having that emotion, that risk, I had to come to my wife and sell her on a vision. For real. I had to present it to her in a way to where she could ride with it and make her confident in me to where she could trust me through the process. So I came to my wife and my family and I said, look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to quit my job, right? Because I was still working with my dad at the time. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit barbering. I'm going to quit everything else. And I'm going to go full time into farming. And it's like, what else was a part of that? And I told Megan, I said, just give me 3 years. After 3 years, you're going to be able to quit your job. And we're both going to be able to full-time farm. And we're also, the Lord speaking to us about homeschooling. And I was like, in 3 years, like we're going to be out of debt. You're going to be able to stay at home, homeschool the kids. And I'm going to be able to stay at home. And we're going to be able to focus on the farm. And we're going to be able to use that platform that we established as ministry to reach the world. So I said, 3 years, give me 3 years. And so she, went with it, rolled with it. And so I quit my job, started farming full time, but we were still going back and forth to the city, back and forth to the city. And one thing that this is where YouTube comes in the store, because at this time we had bought our second property. And I was down working on the second property. And like I said, we're going back and forth to the city, back and forth to the city. Didn't seem like anything was doing well. The city wasn't doing well. The city ministry wasn't doing well. And the country farm ministry wasn't doing well. Because I was giving 50% over here and 50% over here. And they both needed 100%. But I didn't have 100% to give. We only have 100%. So you have to distribute it out, how you see fit. And so I was at one of our second property that we bought that we call the Woodlands. I was down there working, and we were taking little videos here and there. We really weren't serious about it. And the Lord just whispered in my ear, because that day I didn't really feel like taking video. And the Lord just ever so gently whispered in my ear or in my heart, he said, taking these videos is just as important as the work you're doing. And ever since that point, I got super serious, about taking the YouTube videos. Because at first we were posting videos on Facebook, I believe. And then I just felt led to start posting the videos on YouTube. And I started consistently, every other day. Some people think we don't post a lot. Because I know people love our channel and they want to see us post every day. But it's I tell people, you realize we post every other day, right? Sometimes we'll miss a day and it'll be every other day. But most of the time it's every other day. And so I started posting videos every other day, consistently, faithfully, and never imagined that I would make any money off of it. I was just doing it because the Lord told me to do it. I didn't even see YouTube as a business. I just saw it as a way to promote our ministry, and get people to see what we're doing so that they could come down, and serve on the farm, and have an idea what was going on. So still going back and forth. Taking the YouTube videos, posting YouTube videos, wasn't making any money off of it, still going back and forth from the city. I would preach on Sunday and then come down here and do farm chores after the service. Or I would do farm chores, come down here, and then go preach on Sunday. We would have prayer walks through our neighborhood, and we would be coming, we'd be tired after prayer walk, hadn't eaten anything, and we'd come down here and work on the farm and put up fencing, or try to build barns, or try to work with the animals, And it just wasn't sustainable, and it wasn't growing how it needed to grow. And this is within that 3-year window now that I told Megan about. Give me 3 years, because I was full-time. I was full-time ministry. Still wasn't cashing in my ministry checks. And I was full-time on the farm, and I was taking YouTube videos. So I brought in zero income. Now, I saved us a lot of money now. I did save us more money by being full-time, because I did a lot of the renovations at our other house that we ended up selling, because we owned it, and that house, we owned that house, and we were living in that house in the city, and just kind of coming down to the farm and do things. But I came to Megan again. This is at about, I think I had a year left, and this is where a lot of you all came along at, probably about a year or so ago. We had a year left in this vision that I had sold Megan on, that she had signed off on, 3 years, and I would be able to produce an income for us. She would be able to quit her job. We'd be able to homeschool our boys full time. and we'll be debt free. We'll be established. So we've already made it through 2 years, and I hadn't made a whole lot of leeway on any of those things. And I might have been getting a couple little side eyes from Megan, like, all right, you got 1 year left. And so I had to make another leap of faith. I had to take another risk, that emotion called entrepreneur activated again, And I told Megan, I said, in order for us to make this farm successful, or in order for us to accomplish the goal that I gave you 2 years ago, which we only have 1 year left, we're gonna have to move to the farm. There's no way that we felt like the Lord was leading us to fulfill our season in the city. We had accomplished that year that He told us to accomplish in the city. We had saw amazing things happen, but it was time for us to go. And I told Megan, I said, sell the house, and I told her who to sell it to. I said, call this person, sell the house, they're gonna buy it, we're gonna move down to the farm. And so I ended up, we didn't have any money because we were broke, like I said, below the poverty line based off of the stats and statistics, And so at this time we had 3 kids. I wasn't working, wasn't bringing any income. I was saving us a lot of money, but I shouldn't say not working, because I was working super hard, like so extremely hard, trying to accomplish our goals. But I wasn't bringing in like a traditional income. I was just saving us a lot of money. And so we put the house up for sale, sold the house, and I ended up finding this little old raggedy camper for $200. Y'all know about it. Y'all have seen it on the videos. And I ended up renovating that camper. And I didn't even have enough time, because it was like an urgency for us to get down here, to the farm. I didn't even have enough time to finish the renovations. I got it good enough to where it wasn't leaking water through the roof. And we went on here and moved down here in an unfinished camper. This thing is like, I'm talking about probably 100 square foot, and wasn't big enough for nothing, But we brought our family of 5 down here, and we went off grid. That's another thing. We didn't have any power hooked up down here. We didn't have any water. The water was at the front of the property. We had to haul water. At least we had water like at the spigot all the way at the front of the property, 5 acres away. And we didn't have any septic either. So we went completely off grid, and we were hauling water. We were using compost toilets, and we using solar power and things like that. Had an outdoor kitchen, had a big old barbecue grill, trailer smoker, and we would cook brownie cakes and all type of things. You oldies that have been around for a while, you remember us cooking a strawberry cobbler on the barbecue grill, and just it was an amazing time. It really drew us closer together, because it created a lot of conflict, because we were there, and it was hard, it was rough. But through all of that conflict, through all of that adversity, the bond of how to struggle together and then persevere together was established. And so, like I said, I was taking the YouTube videos, and we ended up moving down here. 1 year left, and within that 1 year that we had left on this 3-year plan that I had as this entrepreneur with this emotion called entrepreneur that I had established or presented to my family, we had 1 year left in that plan, and we were able to accomplish by taking that leap of faith, coming down here, taking those YouTube videos. We were able to accomplish all of our goals that we had to accomplish within those 3 years. And I was able to bring my wife home, let her homeschool our kids full time. I was able to produce, the means that we needed, to be able to function, to be able to be debt free on our farm, and to be able to establish a home. And like I said, you all know the part of the story from there forward. And that's where this award comes in. That this award signifies us being able to accomplish that goal. Us being able to be obedient to the Lord and take the videos like He told us to take. But even though it doesn't start with this plaque, this 100,000 subscribers, in this plaque, it didn't this is not it, but this is a symbol of all of those years, and all of that faithfulness and all of that obedience that we had. This is just a symbol. And what I see when I look at this award, I see literacy class. I see the business associate's degree that I got for free for that year. I see barber school. I see you doing ministry for 10 years, getting married, finding my wife and getting married. I see starting our own ministry. You know, I see that 3-year plan that I talked about. I see all those things. I see that day. I remember that day when the Lord ministered to me and whispered to me and said, taking those videos is just as important as the work you do. So when I look at this award, that's what I see. Like, that's what I understand. And now that I've told you all this story, now when you see this award in the background, you know, when you watch our videos, and when we put this award up, you're gonna know that this award, when it says at the bottom, it's all about God. When you see this award, you'll know that this award is a kingdom award. You know, this award represents all of the years of sacrifice, all of the years of faithfulness and obedience. This award is a symbol of our obedience to the Lord and the position that He's put us in. And it's just amazing. Man, it's amazing. So I'm going to take a minute because I've been talking for a while. Looks like the camera says about 50 minutes. And I'm going to take a minute and give me something to drink. And I'm going to go in here and get Megan and the boys. And we're going to place this award in his home, in his place, to where you all can see it and remember all those years, all that sacrifice, and remember how good God is. Because if you ever forget, I want you to look at this award. If you ever forget how good God is, look at this award and remember our story. Look at this award and remember my story, and remember how we persevered. Remember the time when I filled out that job application and they denied me, and I said I'll never be denied again. And I never, to this point, I've never filled out another job application since then. And I've been able to start multiple businesses. I've been successful. Like I say, to this day, we still have people calling us for dog kennels because, you know, Tractor Supply couldn't compete with us because we were a small family business, and it's like we had an anointing, you know, and we put the kennels together for you. All you had to do was just call us, and then it's like kennel was there, you know, and we were able to do it because we were sourcing the material, and we were able to do it in a way to where we could charge less, you know, than Tractor Supply, than the big box stores. And so, man, it's amazing. It's amazing, man. So just remember, it's all about God. And I'll pick y'all up in a second, and we'll get Megan and the boys, and we'll place this award in its forever, in its spot. I won't say forever home because we still have some different things we want to hang around Emma, some pictures and things like that, hang around our mobile home, our debt-free mobile home. But we're gonna put it in a spot now to where it'll be there. You know, if we decide to put it somewhere else, you know, that's cool too. But just for the sake of this video, to make it sound dramatic, we're gonna put this award in its forever home. So I'll pick y'all up in a minute.
How precious did that grace appear the hour I first be.
Hopefully y'all enjoyed that story from Tim, because we were all in here for hours. It felt like trying to be so quiet so that the recording would be good. But we are just as excited about the silver play button. Let me place it here. Yeah, Tim came in the room and started moving stuff around on the mouse, and he said, I'm clearing the spot for my silver play button. And really, for me, the silver play button began back when the Lord whispered to Tim that recording the videos was just as important as the work that he was doing. And when Tim was obedient to that, it just like began to manifest. And we went a long time and we never made a dime on YouTube, but it was all about his faithfulness to what God told him to do. And he was still recording recording videos every other day. He was still, you know, putting his all and his effort into it. He often edits at 3 o'clock in the morning, either reviewing videos or researching for videos or editing videos. And that type of fervor did not start when we got a lot of subscribers. That drive started when the Lord told him that this YouTube videos, recording, all of it was just as important as the farm, and it's all about God. So then YouTube and the videos became I.A.G. They became all about God, and I've seen him throw himself into it because of what the Lord told him. So that's what this means to me. It reminds me that it's all about God. Everything that the Lord asks us to do, it's just beautiful to see Tim wholeheartedly throw himself into it.
Yeah, I told him about that 3-year plan I sold you on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how did you feel when we had like a year left in that 3-year plan? Because I know you said after we accomplished the goal, and you were like, how did you know? How do you like be able to, how can you take a stand on something like that? How can you know?
I know. Honestly, I guess I was nervous more about my performance than about yours. I guess I was nervous about being able to be disciplined and live up to the standards and to do well with everything that God was giving me to do. So I wasn't thinking about you or worried about you. I was worried about myself.
That's good.
So that was the emotion I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but let me I'm pulling it down off the spot already. Gotta go over and talk to the boys. Titus, hold your Kingdom Award. How do you feel? Oh, he look crazy. Titus, you alive? You alive, Titus? All right, wait, go, Titus. How you feel, Titus? Tell the people how you feel.
Good.
Tell America how you feel, and Britain, and Africa, and where else we at? Paris, France, and China. Philippines. Yeah, we're all over the world. We're worldwide. That's what that award tells you, is that people all over the world know your name. And they know that Titus is somebody who honors God, who is all about God. How does that make you feel?
It's like we wasn't trying to get the Florida Play Fun. It's like what all you gotta do is make a couple videos.
That's all we had to do. Make 2 videos, and they give you an award, huh?
Yep.
You crazy. Next. Oh yeah, I know, Titus. Grab that award. Grab your Kingdom Award, no. What you think? How does that make you feel? Nah, we got somebody else asleep. Talk to us, no. What do you think about it?
We didn't buy that thing. That thing gave it to us.
We didn't buy it, they gave it to us. Now I'm talking about, man, ain't got no business buying a silver play button.
I hope your talk was really, really serious, because they're bringing the comedy to it right now.
Exactly, for real. Hopefully everybody stuck around to this point to get the funny part. All right, Timothy Alexander Sales Jr. All right, got another crazy person. Talk to us, buddy. You're the most mature. You were here along this whole process, because I know you don't know everything that I talked about. But you're the only one of our children that went to public school. Well, everybody went to private school for a couple days, but you went to public school because you went to Head Start, and you had to wait. You were along the way of this process. We were trying to accomplish our goals to be able to homeschool y'all and to be able to be full-time on the farm and full-time with ministry. So you have the most perspective about this situation. You know, you've been through the struggle with us. So what do you think? How do you feel about this award?
Good. It took like 15,000 years, but it took a long time to get to this point. But I'm glad we have it.
That's right. Good job. I love it. All right, let's put it back up here. Put it back in the spot, Mama. They seen me enough. This may be his permanent spot, or it may be temporary. We still have a lot of things to hang on the wall. It's amazing. Family, we did it. We did it. Hug. We did it. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for sticking with us, not just in this video, but sticking with us along this journey to develop, to get this silver play button. But as I told you all in the store, that it's about way more than just the things that we recorded on YouTube. You know, there's a whole, like, man, it's just amazing just to think about it. I can't wait to watch this video back and just sit down and just enjoy it and hear the story myself. And it was all anointed because I prayed that the Lord would give me the power to be able to, you know, enunciate and tell the story and, you know, tell the details that I need to tell. And so I feel like everything that I spoke, you know, for that hour, that 50 minutes or however long I was talking, you know, was all inspired, you know, by God. So with that being said, we'll just see y'all on the next one. And we want to say thank you to every person that pushed that subscribe button.
That's right.
And every person that liked, commented, subscribed, and every person that will do those things in the future. But we're just going to call that it for today's video. It's I.A.G Farms. See y'all on the next one.
The years have come and gone, but we're right where we feel we belong. And anyone else would have turned back by now. But we set out to walk 1,000 good miles from our hometown, leaving everyone behind as their slow fires died down. Once we left, we found it harder and harder to slow down. Yeah, we set out to walk 1,000 good miles from our hometown, leaving everyone behind as their slow fires died down. Once we left, we found it harder and harder to slow down, 'cause we set out to walk 1,000 good miles from our hometown. 1,000 good miles. Yeah, 1,000 good miles. Oh, 1,000 good miles. Oh, yeah. 1,000 good miles. Ooh, yeah. 1,000 good miles.
God gave us a helper in the beginning.
Yeah.
But now we have another helper
Another helper.
that has all power. That lives inside of us. So at all times, when I leave the house and my wife at the house, guess who's still with me? Another helper.
Oh my God.
Amen.
Glory.
So, I will fulfill my purpose. But we didn't go back to John chapter 8. Can somebody say, am I just a believer? Or am I a disciple? I'll tell you what the word abide means. Abide means to wait for, or to endure without yielding, or to bear patiently, or, listen to this one now, to accept without subjection. Or he say something and you do it. You're not coming against him like, why you telling me to do this? I'm scared, I'm doing all that type of stuff. Or to conform to it. If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed. And you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Say, if I change, everything change.
Everything changed.
Now you say it one time, now say it like you mean it. Say, if I change, everything change.
Everything changed.
Now I want you to say it so loud that every person out there in them streets, every crack addict, every drunkard, every whatever, I want you to say it so loud that they hear it. Say, if I change, everything change.
Everything changed.
Hallelujah.
Amen.